How dead do I look right now? I don't know. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie. Thanks for joining me here. It's been a time. I have not read nearly as many books as I have been hoping to read lately because I am in the midst of packing. I am going to be heading back to university this weekend, so this whole setup is going to change. I'm very curious to figure out what kind of tripod I'll be able to rig up there, because currently here my phone is stacked on top of a stool, a speaker, a book, and then leaned against a Rubik's Cube. So, creativity. Anyways, I'm new to the book community? I've been reading since, okay. I'm new to the Booktube community, and I'm really excited to be here and kind of be in this space. So I thought that I would do the newbie tag just to let you guys know a little bit about me and a little bit more of what you can expect from this channel going forward. So the very first question in the newbie tag is, why did you start this channel? How much of a life story should I get into? Okay, let's just go back to the beginning of quarantine. That's a couple months ago. So I didn't have a job lined up when quarantine happened, and then of course that made it even more difficult for students to find summer jobs. And I was actually kind of okay with it. I worked an office job the summer before and I had a really difficult time with it. So I was really looking forward to use this summer to get back in touch with all of the things that I love doing that I hadn't been doing. I'm really bad for when things get busy and stressful, the things that I love doing and that bring me happiness are the first things to go, along with food and sleeping, which is real healthy, but it's fine. We're getting better, kids. Where was I? Okay. So I really wanted to spend this time in quarantine really getting back into art, getting back into writing, because I've had this novel I've been working on forever that I just finished the first draft of throughout quarantine. And I wanted to listen to more music, get into more podcasts. Basically, I wanted more art, media, creativity in my life. And I chose to start my blog. And then when I started the Instagram associated with my blog, that kind of turned into an art Instagram. And then through my blog, I started filming a couple booktube themed videos, like the Do I Have This Book challenge. And I really just loved getting to sit down and just chat about books. I love books so much. I'm literally that person that will come running down the hall and be like, I need to tell you everything that's happening in this book right now. So get ready to hear all about it. So to have a space to share that with everyone was something that I really want to do. And I think also there's a lot of talk with habit tracking about keeping yourself accountable. So I think by having this community and being able to put myself out there, it'll be a way for me to be able to keep that in my life. In addition, something else, maybe I'm getting, okay, we'll go on to the next question and then I'll address this. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? So I am a gender equality and social justice major. A lot of people think that's just women's studies. It's not. We do a whole bunch of critical race studies. We do look at gender and sexuality, but it's a whole broad spectrum of social justice issues, as well as an English major. So I'm doing a double major. And those two majors intersect in so many really interesting ways. I actually took an English class that was Sexualities in Victorian Literature, which was a fascinating course. I learned so much about it. I loved it. I wrote my last essay on Jack the Ripper. It was great. I love school. I'm a big nerd. So I think part of what I hope to bring to this channel, to get to the point, some of the unique things that I can bring is when I read literature, I'm coming with that sort of analysis and that background in my brain. So I would really love to bring some of the critiques or the theories that I've learned in school and be able to bring that and apply that to literature. Not that I'm going to be doing full close readings or analyses at all. Analyses? Anyways, but I do think it's important when you're reading to be a critical reader and to think about who is being represented in the book, who is writing these stories, who is telling these stories. And that's something that I've kind of started talking about in my last video. I was getting into mental health and YA books. So that's something really unique that I'd like to be able to bring to the community. Something else that I want to be able to bring is a little bit more of a broad spectrum media approach to the Booktube community. The Instagram that I link below is my art Instagram, and I do a lot of fan art related to books that I'm reading or series or fandoms that I'm involved in, as well as in my blog and stuff like that. I love to analyze movies and things like that, so I would love to be able to bring books together collaboratively with other forms of media, whether that's just doing like a book film comparison or analysis, or just bringing some of those theories or approaches, or maybe looking at some of the art in like an illustrated book or graphic novel. That's something else that I'd love to be able to do on this channel. Number 3, what are you most excited about for this new channel? I am just like really excited to meet other like-minded people and get involved in the booktube community. I love books so much. I'm gonna say that too much in this video. And sometimes there's certain books or things that I love that have a special place in my heart to me, and I don't have a place to share that with people. One of the first books that I read in quarantine was Carry On and Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, and like being able to throw myself headfirst into that fandom and be able to talk with people who are just like, can be like, chapter 61, and we like all know what we're talking about, but there's such a passion for these characters. Just to be involved in a community that just loves books and like understands what they mean to people and the importance of them, and is like willing to discuss them and be involved in that, is something that I am really looking forward to in the booktube community. Why do you love reading? That is a loaded question. I think I love reading because it helps me understand things about myself that I don't understand. That was a really big thing for me growing up. There was a lot of different pieces of my identity that I struggled with, that I still do struggle with, and there is characters in books that helped me come to terms with that and helped me recognize and process what I was going through. And that is one reason that I love reading. Another reason I love reading, I love writing. And I'm a big nerd for things like that. I have like a huge quotation journal that I keep track of. I have tons and tons of notes on my phone where I like write down quotes from books that mean a lot to me. Some of my books actually have slips of papers in the front with like the page numbers from important quotes. So just being able to like read writing and be like, oh, I just love the way that author like put those words together in that perfect way to like string together that image, is something that really means a lot to me. And then I think the last thing is just like as a form of escapism. I just love being able to like escape and run away to another world and be able to feel these characters and feel so connected with them that I feel like I exist in a different space for a little while. That's something that reading has always done for me, and something that I've always loved about books. Question number 5. What book or series got you into reading? I feel like we gotta go with a deep cut for this one. So when I was in kindergarten, when I was in kindergarten, my teacher read us the first Magic Treehouse book, the one with the pterodactyl. I don't quite remember what it was called, and I was obsessed with that series as a kid. So I think pretty much after he read that book to us, I went and started getting the books from the library, and I was like plowing through that series to the point that I caught up and I was like reading books as she published them. And then it got to a point where I was like getting pretty old and I didn't really enjoy the books anymore because they're like pretty simple stories. She pretty much like copy and pastes like the same storyline like every 4 books. It's like they need to go somewhere and like find these 4 things and then it will solve X problem, and then the same thing happens the next 4 books. But I like wanted to finish the series so badly that I was like trying to push myself to keep reading as these books came out. I don't think the series is over yet, I could be wrong, but I think that's like the first like book series that really like drove me into reading and got me to love reading. I have loved reading like ever since I was a little kid. I can remember going to the library and just like coming out with like stacks and stacks of books and like finishing half of them within a day, and I was always doing the summer reading program. But if we think back to like first loves in terms of like literature book series, it was definitely the Magic Treehouse series for me. Question 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? My personal favorite booktuber is Paperback Dreams, or Kat. She is phenomenal. She's absolutely hilarious. I love it. I think there's a couple questions. The first one I have is, how do you keep reading without feeling like it's something you're obligated to do? This is something that I've been struggling with because I want to finish so many books in a month, so I at least have something to talk about in my wrap-up video, and then I feel like I'm forcing myself to read books that I don't necessarily enjoy, or I'm like kind of losing the love of reading because I'm like trying to plow through these books. So that's definitely something that I want to know. 2, just how do you get used to talking to a camera? I'm getting better at it. My brothers and I used to film movies as a kid all the time, so I don't have a problem with like being recorded. It's just very strange talking to no one in a room, especially like I prefer to film when there's no one home because I feel like people are gonna think I'm crazy, even though in this era of Zoom calls everyone is always talking to a screen at all times for some reason. Well, not for some reason. We know what's going on in the world. So I think those are the questions that I have. I think the other question I just have is like, want to be my friend? Because they have such similar loves of books, and there's so many people out there that I'm just like, your personality. I just love, Read with Cindy is another one of my favorite booktubers, and I love how like chill and laid back the kind of people are, where they're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna be like eating a bowl of noodles and talking to you, or just like random things like that, and that's kind of a level of comfortability I want to be able to get to with this channel. So I think I would definitely want some advice on that, and just being like, fuck it, this is what we're doing today. Question 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Fear. I have a really bad problem with anxiety. I have an issue where I kind of get this voice into my head that tells me that like nobody's listening, or people don't really care, or why are people paying attention, or why would somebody want to watch you talk about this? And unfortunately I let that overcome my love for doing the things sometimes, and I just stop doing it like cold turkey. So I think being able to overcome that voice and force myself to consistently make content no matter what, even if I only have like 3 subscribers or something like that, as long as it's something that I want to do and staying true to the content that I want to create, that's something that I'm going to have to overcome. And then I think just scheduling. I'm usually a very organized person, and I'm not too bad at procrastinating, but I've kind of been falling behind lately with some of these channels, and I think it's just that like once I let that voice of self-doubt in and I like miss 1 week, then it's so easy for me to just fall completely off the wagon and miss like 3 months. So I'm going to try and pick, it was Wednesdays. I realize my last couple videos haven't come out on Wednesdays, but I'm going to try and aim for like 1 video a week, and to try and plan ahead and make sure that I have that content ready. Hence why I'm filming this now, because I know that the rest of this week is going to be insane with me trying to finish packing and get ready to go back to school. Alright, 8. When did you start reading? That seems like a weird question. Maybe I should watch more of these newbie tags before I do this. I started reading really young. This is gonna sound like a self-brag. I don't know when I first started reading. Like probably 2 or 3. I don't know. I was a very, very early reader. And then by the time I was in kindergarten, I could read like full, or like in Canada we have junior kindergarten, which you do at 4, and then senior kindergarten, which you do at 5. So when I was 4, I could read like full picture books and stuff like that by myself. And then by the time I was 5, like I've already mentioned, I was reading full like JFic chapter books, like Magic Treehouse and things like that. So yeah, I can't remember a time before reading for me, if that answers that question, which I think also answers why books and everything mean so much to me, because they've been such a big part of my life. I remember even in kindergarten, in my like junior kindergarten class, we had this like massive snake in like our reading nook, and it was the coolest thing to me, and I loved just like curling up in it and like reading a whole bunch of books. And like most people wanted to go on like our like play breaks, they want to go to like the kitchen station or play some of those different games, and I was that nerd being like, I'm gonna go read, buds, see you in a bit. That's what I was like as a 4-year-old, if any of you were wondering. Number 9, where do you read? Anywhere? Usually at home. I tutored a bit throughout high school, so because I would have like gaps sometimes after my tutoring lessons or before my tutoring lessons where I was like waiting for a ride or waiting for a student, I would go to this bakery that we have near the library in my town, and I'd like buy myself a little treat, and I'd just like chill and eat a snack and like read a book. So that's kind of like a getting out there and reading in different places. Sometimes in high school, our school, they just put your lunch wherever it fit. So sometimes your lunch could be in the middle of the day, sometimes it could be at the end. It meant that there was like a year where I didn't really know anyone who had lunch at the same time as me. So our like public library was about a 15-minute walk from my high school. So sometimes I'd just walk down there and go and read on my lunch break. But for the most part, I read at home. I just kind of like reading in the comfort of my own room. I have like this massive beanbag chair that I love curling up and reading in, and I love reading in my bed, on a couch. I do like to read in like positions though that aren't normal. Like, I will lie with my back on the part of the couch that you're supposed to sit on and then put my feet up in the air and like be totally comfortable. Or my other thing, especially with my Kobo, I will put my Kobo on the floor and lie on my stomach so that my head hangs off the end of the bed, and then I just like dangle my arms so I can like touch the screen to make the page flip. I feel like everyone has super weird reading habits, so those are mine. Welcome. Now we know each other better. Very last one, what kind of books do you like to read? All of them. That's a lie. Okay, I'm not a big fan of romance, even though I've like recently been getting into YA romances, so who knows, maybe we're changing it up a little bit. I love horror novels. I'm a big Stephen King fan. Horror, mystery, thriller, that all kind of goes in together. I love kind of like being able to solve and like pick apart the different pieces and things like that. I'm a big contemporary literature fan. I especially love stories that are very character driven. I think the characters often are like the heart of the story for me, or the thing that keeps me moving forward. Graphic novels. I love graphic novels. Just like the consistency it takes to draw a character and have them look the same over and over again blows my mind. Plus, I just also find it fascinating, the relationship between like the images and the words and the way that that comes together to tell a story. Poetry, I'm a huge fan of poetry. I love spoken word poetry in particular. That's something else I might throw in on this channel, is some of my own poems and works. I think besides that, like, I do dabble a little bit into fantasy. I do like fantasy. I don't really think there's any genre I don't read except for like romance. I'm pretty like heavily set against like just solid romance. I've been getting a little bit better where I'm like willing to read more, and I've been enjoying some of like the more YA romances that I've been reading. But yeah, you're not gonna see me like Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. I can't even think of romance novels off the... Nicholas Sparks. You're not gonna see me picking up a Nicholas Sparks book and wanting to read that. I feel like there was another genre. Oh, I also love children's literature. Or like YA literature, all of that. I think it gets a bad rap. I think people think a lot of times that like, because it's like written for kids, that it's not as like literary. If it's well-written children's literature, it should not matter what age you are. I have actually like gone back and reread books that I liked as a kid and had them like hit me harder as an adult than they did for me as a child. So that's something that I love, like keeping up with what's going on in like JFic, YA type world. I wouldn't really say I'm out of the age where like reading YA and teen is like, I wouldn't, like their books are still directed towards me, but I think definitely some of like the junior fiction books and things like that that I've been kind of keeping up with are something that aren't like typically for my age range, something you would expect me to read. That was very rambly. I don't know if any of that made sense. So to sum up, I pretty much like anything but like hardcore romance, and particularly like mystery horror thrillers or character driven stories. So that's me. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I should share or I should talk about. I'm very tired. I'm filming this on my lunch break, so I apologize if I talk too fast or it's very rambly, but I just really want to say thank you for coming along on this journey with me. It really means a lot to know, even if there's only one person out there, that someone out there is listening to this and taking enjoyment from it. So if you liked this video, please subscribe. I'm hoping to post new videos at least once a week. We'll see if we pick an update day, if it ends up being Wednesday, or if we change it up once I get back to school. Leave me a comment about your thoughts, things that you would like to see on this channel moving forward, things that you like that I've done already that you'd like to see more of. Otherwise, I will link my blog, my Goodreads, and my Instagram in the description below if you want to follow me there, and I will see you next week.